How are you guys doing? Today is Tuesday, March 29th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances that took place on Monday, March 28th. Of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. Taking a look at where we are towards the end of March. Now we are through to the Final Four for both the men's and the women's tournaments, as the Elite Eight for the women's tournament just ended yesterday. Now that we have four teams left in both tournaments, we are getting ready to enter this upcoming weekend that will officially end the tournament, as the women's Final Four will officially start on Friday. Taking a look at the women's Elite Eight matchups that were able to take place yesterday, starting with the Bridgeport Regional Final between the 1 seed North Carolina State Wolfpack and the 2 seed UConn Huskies. First, looking at how these two teams got here, the 1 seed NC State Wolfpack would make it to the Bridgeport Regional Final after winning their first two games on their home court in Raleigh, North Carolina. They would beat 16 seed Longwood by 26 after Longwood played a first four matchup to get there. NC State would go on to their second matchup, and they would beat 9 seed Kansas State by 32 in Raleigh, North Carolina on their home court. Once they made it to the Sweet 16 round, they ended up beating 5 seed Notre Dame by 3. Looking at how 2 seed UConn made it here without even leaving the state, in Storrs, Connecticut on their home court, they would beat 15 seed Mercer by 45 in the first round before beating 7 seed UCF by 5. They would go on to Bridgeport, Connecticut for the Sweet 16 matchup they played. They would beat 3 seed Indiana by 17 to make it to this round. In this matchup between these two teams in the Bridgeport Regional Final between the 1 and 2 seeds, the 2 seed UConn Huskies would beat the 1 seed NC State Wolfpack 91-87 in double overtime, as UConn would secure their 14th straight trip to the Final Four and be the only reason that we don't have a Final Four with all number 1 seeds. On the losing end of this matchup, the top seed North Carolina State Wolfpack were led in scoring by their starting forward, Jakia Brown-Turner. Their junior out of Oxon Hill, Maryland, would go on to finish with 20 points. She also had 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and a couple of blocks in 48 minutes. She would go on to shoot 6 for 14 from the field and a perfect 6 for 6 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 2 seed UConn Huskies were led in scoring by their starting guard, Paige Beckers. Their sophomore from Hopkins, Minnesota, would go on to finish with 27 points and 6 rebounds in 45 minutes. She shot 10 for 15 from the field. She would go on to shoot 6 for 7 from the free throw line. UConn's starting guard, Kristen Williams, their senior from Little Rock, Arkansas, would go on to finish with 21 points and 5 rebounds in 48 minutes. She shot 9 for 22 from the field, and she made 1 of her 2 free throws. With this win, the 2 seed UConn Huskies will be the team representing the Bridgeport region in the Final Four, and they will face off against 1 seed Stanford, the defending champs, on Friday at 9:30. That will be the first game of the 2 that will be played. And with this loss, the number 1 seed North Carolina State Wolfpack out of the ACC will finish their 2021-22 season with a 32-4 record. And then, of course, looking at the other Elite Eight game that was played yesterday, in Wichita, Kansas, the 1 seed Louisville Cardinals would face off against the 3 seed Michigan Wolverines. Looking at how these two teams made it to the regional final, Louisville won their first 2 games on their home court in Louisville, Kentucky, beating 16 seed Albany by 32 in the first round, then beating 9 seed Gonzaga by 9 in the second round. Once Louisville made it to the Sweet 16, they would beat 4 seed Tennessee by 12 in that round. 3 seed Michigan won their first 2 games on their home court in Ann Arbor, as they beat 14 seed American in the first round by 35 points. They would then go on to beat 11 seed Villanova by 15. Once they made it out of Ann Arbor, they would go to Wichita, Kansas for the Sweet 16 round, where they would go on to beat 10 seed South Dakota by 3 points. In this Elite Eight matchup, 1 seed Louisville would beat 3 seed Michigan 62-50 to be the third 1 seed to advance to the Final Four, as the only 1 seed that didn't lost in overtime. But looking at how this matchup would fare, 1 seed Louisville would win this matchup 62-50 after they went on to outscore Michigan by 10 in the fourth quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the 3 seed Michigan Wolverines would go on to be led in scoring by their starting forward, Naz Hillman. Their senior out of Cleveland, Ohio, would go on to finish with 18 points and 11 rebounds in 40 minutes. She shot 4 for 10 from the field and 10 for 13 from the foul line on the night. On the winning end of this matchup, the top seed Louisville Cardinals would go on to be led in scoring by their starting guard, Haley Van Lith. Their sophomore out of Wenatchee, Washington, would go on to finish with 22 points and 2 steals in 38 minutes. She shot 9 for 15 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the top seed Louisville Cardinals will represent the Wichita region in the Final Four in the women's bracket. Their next matchup will be on Friday against the number 1 seed from the Greensboro region, that being South Carolina. That'll be the first of the 2 Final Four matchups, as the winner of that will face off against the winner between Stanford, the 1 seed out of Spokane and the defending champs, and UConn, the team that made it out of the Bridgeport region without having to leave the state. So that's what college basketball is looking like right now. As of course, like I said, the college basketball March Madness will resume on Friday with the women's Final Four. Taking a look now what's going on in the NBA, starting off in Charlotte, the Charlotte Hornets hosted the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets would go on to beat the Hornets by 4. The Nuggets would win this game 113-109. They won this game by 4 after outscoring the Hornets by 10 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Hornets were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Miles Bridges. He finished with 27 points and 11 rebounds alongside 5 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 12 for 22 from the field, and he made his only free throw. The Hornets' elite starting point guard, LaMelo Ball, finished with 22 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists, and 2 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 21 from the field, 4 for 11, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Denver Nuggets were led in scoring by their elite starting center, last year's MVP, Nikola Jokic. Jokic finished with 26 points, 19 rebounds, 11 assists, and 2 steals in 35 minutes. He shot 9 for 17 from the field, and he would go on to shoot 8 for 12 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Aaron Gordon, would finish with 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals, all in 33 minutes. He shot 9 for 16 from the field. He would shoot 1 for 3 from 3 and 2 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the Denver Nuggets are now 45-31. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference. They've now won their last 2 games, and they've won 5 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting half a game behind the 5th place Utah Jazz. They are sitting 2 games ahead of the 7th place Minnesota Timberwolves. With 6 games left in their schedule, they are sitting 16.5 games behind the Phoenix Suns, as the highest seed the Nuggets can hope for at this point is the 3rd seed. With this loss, the Charlotte Hornets are 39-37. That is the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they've only lost 3 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference play-in picture, they are sitting half a game behind the 8th place Brooklyn Nets. They also sit half a game ahead of the 10th place Atlanta Hawks. With 6 games left in the Hornets schedule, they are sitting 9 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. As of now, the highest seed that the Hornets can get is the 5th seed right now, as they are also sitting 5 games ahead of the New York Knicks, the first team on the outside looking in. Taking a look at what happened in Cleveland, the Cleveland Cavaliers hosted the Orlando Magic. The Cavs would beat the Magic by 6. They won it 107-101 after they outscored Orlando by 7 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Orlando Magic were led in scoring by their starting center out of Duke, Wendell Carter Jr. He finished with 15 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists in 27 minutes. He shot 7 for 14 from the field on the night. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Cavaliers were led in scoring by their all-star starting point guard out of Vanderbilt, Darius Garland. Garland finished with 25 points, 3 rebounds, 12 assists, and 3 steals in 40 minutes. He shot 7 for 17 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3, and he shot a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. The Cavaliers starting power forward, Lauri Markkanen, finished with 20 points in 29 minutes. He shot 6 for 15 from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 from the free throw line. With this win, the Cleveland Cavaliers are now 42-33, having officially clinched a winning record for the year. They've won 4 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they're sitting a game behind the Chicago Bulls and the Toronto Raptors, who are tied for the 5th spot in the East. They're sitting 3 games ahead of the 8th place Brooklyn Nets, and currently with 7 games left in their schedule, they are sitting 5.5 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. So right now, all the East is up for grabs as the Cavaliers are in the final stretch of their season. With this loss, the Orlando Magic are now 20-56. That is the worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they are tied with the Houston Rockets for the worst record in the NBA. The Magic have lost their last 3 games, and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They are currently sitting a full 18 and a half games behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks outside of the Eastern Conference play-in picture looking in, as they have 6 games left in their schedule. The Orlando Magic are one of 3 teams in the Eastern Conference alongside the Detroit Pistons and the Indiana Pacers, who have been eliminated from playoff contention already as of right now. Taking a look at what happened in Indianapolis, the Indiana Pacers hosted the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks would beat the Pacers 132-123 in a crucial game for the Hawks. They won this game by 9 after they outscored the Pacers by 14 in the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Indiana Pacers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Oklahoma, Buddy Hield. Hield finished with 26 points and 5 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 10 for 15 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, and he would shoot 1 for 2 from the free throw line. Their starting point guard out of Iowa State, Tyrese Halliburton, finished with 25 points, 13 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 40 minutes. He shot 9 for 19 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Atlanta Hawks were led in scoring by their shooting guard off the bench, Bogdan Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic finished with 29 points and 5 rebounds in 29 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, and 8 for 10 from the free throw line. Their starting center out of Switzerland, Clint Capella, would go on to finish with 22 points and 15 rebounds in 31 minutes. He shot 11 for 17 from the field. The Hawks starting shooting guard, Kevin Huerter, finished with 22 points and 6 assists in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field and 6 for 10 from 3. The Atlanta Hawks' elite starting point guard, Trae Young, finished with 14 points, 3 rebounds, 16 assists, and 2 steals in 36 minutes. He shot 4 for 13 from the field, 2 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the Atlanta Hawks are now 38-37. That is the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they've now won their last 2 games and 7 of their last 10. At the bottom of the Eastern Conference play-in picture, they are sitting half a game behind the 9th place Charlotte Hornets as they trail the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 9.5 games. With 7 games left in their schedule, they are sitting 4.5 games ahead of the 11th place New York Knicks as they are trying to secure that last play-in spot. With this loss, the Indiana Pacers are now 25-51. That is the 3rd worst record in the Eastern Conference. They've now lost their last 4 games. Their 4-game losing streak is the longest active losing streak in the Eastern Conference. And in the NBA, only the Clippers have a longer active losing streak than the Indiana Pacers. Outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture by about 13.5 games, the Indiana Pacers, alongside the Pistons and the Magic, are one of 3 teams in the Eastern Conference who have been eliminated from playoff contention as of now. Jumping out to South Beach, the Miami Heat hosted the Sacramento Kings. The Heat would beat the Kings 123-100 to reclaim the best record in the East. The Heat won this game by 23 points after they outscored the Kings by 12 in the first quarter. They were up by 16 at the half. They would then go on to be up by 25 after the first 3 quarters of this game. On the losing end of this matchup, the Sacramento Kings were led in scoring by their starting point guard, their rookie off of the defending champs Baylor Bears, Davion Mitchell. Mitchell finished with 21 points and 9 assists in 41 minutes. He shot 9 for 19 from the field and 2 for 4 from 3, as well as he would go on to make the only free throw of the night for himself. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Miami Heat were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward out of Marquette, Jimmy Butler. Butler finished with 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists in 34 minutes. He shot 10 for 14 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and he made all 4 of his free throws. Their starting center, Bam Adebayo, finished with 22 points, 15 rebounds, and 2 steals in 32 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field and made both of his free throws. The Heat's their guard off the bench, Tyler Hero, finished with 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists in 29 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field and 4 for 8 from 3. With this win, the Miami Heat are now 48-28. That is the best record in the Eastern Conference. They now sit a game ahead of the two-way tie of the Philadelphia 76ers and the Milwaukee Bucks for second place. They also sit a game ahead of the fourth-place Boston Celtics at the moment. The Heat have won 4 of their last 10 games as they currently sit 9.5 games ahead of the 10th place Atlanta Hawks. The Heat are the only team as of right now that have clinched a for sure playoff spot in the East, as they have officially won their division at the moment. With this loss, the Sacramento Kings are now 27-49. That is the third worst record in the Western Conference. And then, of course, taking a look at where they are sitting right now, having lost 7 of their last 10 games. They are currently sitting 5 games behind the 10th place Los Angeles Lakers outside of the play-in picture out west. And as the Kings have 6 more games left in their schedule, they could see their playoff contentions, their playoff hopes fading away after their next game, very possibly. Taking a look now at what happened in New York. The New York Knicks hosted the Chicago Bulls. The Knicks would beat the Bulls 109-104 in a game that the Knicks needed to win. They won this game by 5 after outscoring the Bulls by 7 in the second quarter, by 10 in the middle 2 quarters combined. On the losing end of this matchup, the Chicago Bulls were led in scoring by their all-star starting small forward out of USC, DeMar DeRozan. He finished with 37 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists in 41 minutes. He shot 12 for 26 from the field. He made his only three-pointer of the day. He would go on to make all 12 of his free throws. Their all-star starting shooting guard out of UCLA, Zach LaVine, finished with 27 points in 36 minutes alongside 4 rebounds and 3 assists. He shot 8 for 17 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, and he made 9 of his 10 free throws. The Bulls starting center, Nikola Vucevic, finished with 16 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 6 for 11 from the field and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown New York Knicks were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Duke, RJ Barrett. Barrett finished with 28 points, 6 rebounds in 43 minutes. He shot 10 for 24 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and he shot 6 for 7 from the foul line. The New York Knicks' other starting shooting guard, Alec Burks, finished with 27 points and 6 rebounds in 42 minutes. He shot 9 for 19 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. The Knicks starting center, Mitchell Robinson, finished with 16 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks in 35 minutes. He shot 8 for 9 from the field. With this win, the New York Knicks are now 34-42. That is the 11th best or the 5th worst record out in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks have won their last 4 games. That is actually the active longest winning streak in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks have now won 6 of their last 10 games. They sit 4.5 games outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks. And with 6 games left in their schedule, a loss here, a loss in the upcoming games could be actually very crucial for them coming up. But as of right now, they are still contending for a playoff spot. With this loss, the Chicago Bulls are now 43-32. That is the 5th best record in the East as they are tied with the Raptors. The Bulls have lost 6 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 3.5 games behind the 2nd and 3rd place Sixers and defending champs Bucks. They also sit 3.5 games behind the 4th place Boston Celtics. Alongside the Raptors, they are sitting a game ahead of the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers. And with 5 games left in their schedule, with 7 games left in their schedule, the Bulls are sitting 4.5 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. So the first spot in the East is possible for the Bulls at this moment. Taking a look at what happened north of the U.S.-Canadian border in Toronto, the Raptors hosted the Boston Celtics. The Raptors would go on to beat the Celtics 115-112. They won this matchup by 3 after they outscored the Celtics 9-6 in the overtime period. On the losing end of this matchup, the Boston Celtics were led in scoring by their starting guard out of Oklahoma State, Marcus Smart. He finished with 28 points and 10 rebounds, as well as 7 turnovers in 40 minutes. He shot 10 for 25 from the field. He would go on to shoot 6 for 9 from 3 as well. The Celtics starting center Daniel Theis finished with 13 points, and 10 rebounds alongside 2 blocks in 41 minutes. He shot 5 for 10 from the field and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Raptors were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Pascal Siakam. He finished with 40 points, 13 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 blocks as he fouled out in 47 minutes. He shot 17 for 29 from the field and 6 for 8 from the free throw line. With this win, the Toronto Raptors are 43-32. They are now tied with the Chicago Bulls for the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference. The Raptors have now won their last 3 games, and they've won 8 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they and the Bulls are sitting a game behind the Philadelphia 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Celtics, who are occupying the 2 through 4 seeds. The Raptors and the Bulls are also sitting a game ahead of the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers. With 7 games left in their schedule, the Raptors are sitting 4.5 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat, as first place is very possible for them, just like the Bulls. With this loss, the Boston Celtics are now 47-29. Win percentage wise, that is the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference, even though they have the 2nd most amount of wins. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games. Looking at where they are in this Eastern Conference playoff picture, they have 1 more win and 1 more loss than the Philadelphia 76ers and the Milwaukee Bucks, who are tied for the 2nd best record in the East. And as the Celtics have 6 more games left in their schedule, they sit 1 game behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat, and they sit 3.5 games ahead of the 2-way tie for 5th place in the East of the Chicago Bulls and the Toronto Raptors. Taking a look at what happened in Houston, the Houston Rockets hosted the San Antonio Spurs from within the state. The Spurs would beat the Rockets 123-120 as the Spurs are still fighting for their playoff lives. Spurs won this game by 3 after outscoring the Rockets by 12 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Rockets were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, the number 2 overall pick in last year's draft, Jalen Green. He finished with 30 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 10 for 24 from the field. He shot 6 for 15 from 3 and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Kevin Porter Jr., finished with 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists in 36 minutes. He shot 9 for 22 from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Their shooting guard off the bench, Josh Christopher, finished with 20 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 30 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and he shot a perfect 7 for 7 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the San Antonio Spurs were led in scoring by their all-star starting point guard, DeJounte Murray. He finished with 33 points, 7 rebounds, 11 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 38 minutes. He shot 11 for 18 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 9 for 12 from the free throw line. Their starting small forward, Keldon Johnson, finished with 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 steals, all in 36 minutes. He shot 7 for 17 from the field and 6 for 7 from the free throw line. And then their starting center, Jakob Poeltl, finished with 17 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 27 minutes. He shot 8 for 10 from the field and 1 for 2 from the free throw line. With this win, the San Antonio Spurs are now 31-44. That is the 5th worst record in the Western Conference. The Spurs have now won their last 4 games. That is the 2nd longest active winning streak in the West, the 3rd longest active winning streak, as the Suns and the Grizzlies have longer winning streaks. The Spurs have won 6 of their last 10 games, and they are currently sitting half a game outside of the Western Conference play-in picture, as they sit half a game behind the 10th place Los Angeles Lakers with 7 games left in their schedule. So it's very on for the Spurs. With this loss, the Houston Rockets are now 20-56. That is the worst record in the Western Conference, and they are now tied with the Orlando Magic for the worst record in the NBA. The Rockets have lost 7 of their last 10 games. They are currently sitting 12 games behind the 10-seed LA Lakers outside of the West Coast Conference looking in. Outside of the Western Conference playoff picture looking in. Overall, they sit 12 games behind the Lakers as they have 6 games left in their schedule. The Rockets, alongside the Thunder, are one of 2 teams in the Western Conference and 5 teams in the NBA who have already been eliminated from playoff contention this year. Jumping out to Memphis, the Grizzlies hosted the Golden State Warriors. The Grizzlies would beat the Warriors 123-95. They won this game by 28 after they outscored the Grizzlies by 22 in the second quarter. They were up by 26 at the half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Golden State Warriors were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Jordan Poole. Poole finished with 25 points and 5 rebounds in 28 minutes. He shot 7 for 17 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3 as he made all 8 of his free throws. Their all-star starting small forward, Andrew Wiggins, finished with 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists in 29 minutes as he shot 5 for 15 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Memphis Grizzlies were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Desmond Bane. Bane finished with 22 points and 2 steals. He would do all of this in 27 minutes as he shot 7 for 15 from the field, 5 for 6 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. Their starting small forward, Dylan Brooks, finished with 21 points in 22 minutes. He shot 9 for 15 from the field and 2 for 4 from the free throw line. Their starting shooting guard, DeAnthony Melton, finished with their shooting guard off the bench, DeAnthony Melton, finished with 21 points and 6 rebounds in 21 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field and 5 for 9 from 3. With this win, the Memphis Grizzlies are now 53-23. That is the second best record in the Western Conference and the second best record in the NBA for that matter. They are one of only 2 teams that have won at least 50 games this season, the other team being the Suns. The Grizzlies are on a 5-game winning streak, the second longest active winning streak in the West. Only the Suns have a longer winning streak. The Grizzlies have won 9 of their last 10 games, and as they have 6 games left in their schedule, they sit 8.5 games behind the first place Phoenix Suns. So they can only really, the highest seed they can get is second place, but they also sit 5 games ahead of the third place Golden State Warriors, as they very well could secure their second spot either next game or the game after that. With this loss, the Golden State Warriors are now 48-28. That is the third best record in the Western Conference. They've now lost their last 3 games. They've lost 6 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 5 games behind the second place Memphis Grizzlies. They sit a game and a half ahead of the fourth place Dallas Mavericks, as the Warriors have 6 games left in their schedule. They sit 13.5 games behind the Phoenix Suns. The highest seed the Warriors can hope for is second place as of right now. But after the Grizzlies just beat them, it's going to be very tough for them to do that. And then last but not least, jumping out to Portland, the Trailblazers hosted the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder would go on to beat the Trailblazers in overtime, 134-131. They outscored the Trailblazers 19-16 in that overtime period after outscoring the Blazers by 8 in the fourth quarter to even tie it up in the first place. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Portland Trailblazers were led in scoring by their shooting guard off the bench out of Kansas, Ben McLemore. He finished with 28 points. He did all this in 32 minutes. He shot 10 for 22 from the field and 8 for 18 from 3. Their starting power forward, Drew Eubanks, finished with 27 points, 14 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 blocks in 41 minutes. He shot 12 for 14 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Brandon Williams, finished with 25 points, 12 assists, and 4 steals in 41 minutes. He shot 8 for 20 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Isaiah Roby. Roby finished with 30 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 38 minutes. He shot 11 for 13 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, and he would go on to shoot 4 for 8 from the free throw line. The Thunder starting shooting guard, Aaron Wiggins, finished with 28 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 11 for 19 from the field and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Their starting point guard, Teo Maledon, finished with 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 7 for 17 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. The Thunder starting center, Alex Pukasevsky, finished with 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 11 assists, as well as 6 turnovers in 41 minutes. He shot 4 for 11 from the field and made his only free throw. With this win, the Oklahoma City Thunder are now 22-53. That is the second worst record in the Western Conference. They've won 2 of their last 10 games. They are sitting 9.5 games behind the 10th place Los Angeles Lakers outside of the play-in picture. At this moment, with 7 games left in their schedule, they are sitting 9.5 games behind the Lakers. Alongside the Rockets, the Thunder are one of 2 teams in the Western Conference who have failed to qualify for playoff contention this year, despite the win. And with this loss, the Portland Trailblazers are now 27-48. That is the 4th worst record in the Western Conference. They've now lost their last 4 games. Only the Los Angeles Clippers have a longer active losing streak in the conference. The Blazers have lost 8 of their last 10. They are currently sitting sitting 4.5 games behind the 10th place Los Angeles Lakers outside of the play-in picture looking in, as they currently have 7 games left in their schedule. So that's where they're looking, as they're still contending for a playoff spot. But that is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Taking a look at what's going on today, and of course, because today is Tuesday, I believe that the primetime matchups themselves are going to be found on TNT. At 7:30 in the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas, the Dallas Mavericks, who hold the 4th best record in the West, are going to host the Los Angeles Lakers, who come in with the 10th best record in the West. The Mavericks have won 6 of their last 10 games, as they sit a game and a half behind the 3rd place Golden State Warriors. The Lakers into this game having lost their last 2 games. They lost 7 of their last 10. They sit half a game behind the 9th place New Orleans Pelicans, and they sit half a game ahead of the San Antonio Spurs, who are just outside of the playoff picture looking in. So this is a must-win game for the Lakers. Following that game at 10 o'clock on TNT in the Crypto.com arena, the Los Angeles Clippers, the 8th best team in the West, are going to host the Utah Jazz, the team who is holding the 5th best record in the West. The Clippers enter this matchup having lost their last 5 games. Their 5-game losing streak is the longest active losing streak in the NBA. The Utah Jazz come into this matchup having lost their last 4, as both of these teams are trying to turn their losing skids around. Looking at the teams that aren't on prime time at 7 o'clock on the Wells Fargo Center is going to be a matchup between the 2 teams tied for 2nd place in the East, as the Philadelphia 76ers are going to host the Milwaukee Bucks. At the same time, in the nation's capital, the Washington Wizards are going to host the Chicago Bulls, as the Bulls are fighting for a playoff spot. At 7:30 in the Barclays Center, the New York Knicks are going to host the Detroit Pistons, who have already failed to qualify for a playoff spot this year. So that's what's going on in the NBA. Taking a look at what's going on with soccer overseas, as we are still kind of in this international break. Taking a look at what's going on today, because there weren't that many big matchups yesterday. Looking first at the matchups where teams are trying to qualify for the World Cup. Starting off in Europe, Poland is going to face off against Sweden at 2:45 on ESPN+. At that same time, Portugal is going to face off against North Macedonia. In South America, Bolivia is going to host Brazil at 7:30. At the same time, Chile is going to host Uruguay. Ecuador is going to host Argentina as well. In the out here looking at the Cups, or the nations trying to qualify in Asia, Japan's going to host Vietnam at 6:35 in the morning. The UAE is going to host South Korea at 9:45. In Africa, in the second leg of qualifying matchups for the FIFA World Cup, Nigeria is going to host Ghana at 1. Senegal is going to host Egypt in a rematch of the AFCON final at the same time. Algeria is going to host Cameroon, as Algeria holds a 1-0 aggregate lead. Morocco is going to host the Congo DR, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Tunisia is going to host Mali. But those are going to be the matchups there. Even looking at the international friendlies that are taking place today, Croatia is going to host Bulgaria at 10 a.m. It looks as though Switzerland's going to host Kosovo at noon. Norway is going to host Armenia at 1 o'clock. Belgium's going to host Burkina Faso at 2:45. England's going to host the Ivory Coast at 2:45. The Netherlands is going to host Germany at 2:45 as well. So at the same time, Spain's going to host Iceland, Turkey's going to host Italy, and then France is going to host South Africa at 3:45. Those are going to be the big matchups to look forward to today. And once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done across all sports, I will come back tomorrow on Wednesday, March 30th for another episode. And until then, I want to thank everyone once again for listening to this piece. I really do hope all is well. And once we get to tomorrow, I'll get right into that. But I want to thank the ESPN, the NCAA, the NBA, and FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures that I needed. Without these websites, I wouldn't be able to do this. And I, of course, apologize for the names that I butchered along the way, because I eventually do plan on getting them. I plan on getting better at the names, and I eventually plan on getting them right. With that said, I want to thank everyone once again. I hope all is well, and I will catch you with another episode of this piece of this show tomorrow. Thanks for listening. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with another episode tomorrow. Peace out.